Alrighty, hey guys, welcome back to another video, and today we received the new 1.5.7 beta and 1.56 move to live. This patch is 14.8 gigabytes and it has some very good changes in my opinion. The link to this new beta patch will be down below if you guys want to go check that out. And also, I have a script like always. Everything that I say, all links that are stated, they're all going to be in the description for you to check out during the video or after, whatever you want to do. But in this video, we will go over all the important changes. The minor changes and fixes will be on the screen as the video goes on, and I will let you know of it. And you can pause the video to see the changes, and then also you can follow the link in the description for more information on the new beta. So without further ado, let's get into the changes. We're going to do single player, multiplayer, and then both. So single player first. First, we have a lot of single player crash fixes. They're on the screen right now. If you wish to check them out, if you wish to pause, go for it right now. Second, we have a lot of optimization to the world map, field battles, and save game files, all on the screen right now as well. Next we have is map conversations now support voice lines. So what this means is pretty much Istiana, I think that's how you say her name, from the main quest will now be fully voice acted. Before it was only a couple of lines that she actually said, and it kind of freaked me out the first time I heard it, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people are in the same situation. The first time they heard her, like, you know, voice act her actual lines. But now it will actually be fully voice acted, her lines in particular. Next we have is improve the information shown in the Kingdom/Fiefs tab. So it looks a little bit better now in the UI. More stuff is shown, so good to see. Next we have is separated performance options into different categories to better represent these options. Also, overall performance option is moved to the top. I like the new look. I think it looks a lot better in terms of the UI, so good changes. Next, we have a bunch of UI fixes, stuff that should have been working. It was bugged, but now should work as intended. All of these can be seen on the screen right now if you do wish to pause. Next, we have is world map preparation phase of sieges is now 33% longer. So this is the loading bar you see whenever you click start a siege. It is now 33% longer. Next we have is added a tooltip to heir selection pop-up to better inform the player about the possible hero's skills and attributes before selecting an heir. So if the main character dies and you need to select an heir, you can actually hover over a tooltip next to the heir selection pop-up, and you can actually see like what they have in terms of like skills and stuff. So when you make the choice, whatever like your choices are, you can pick the one that best suits you. Next we have is the being wounded chance has been reduced by 10% for non-hero troops in all battles, missions, and simulations when knocked out. This pretty much means more troops will now die whenever they are knocked down instead of becoming wounded. Nothing too crazy. You won't see a huge increase or in deaths, but it will be there. Next we have is wounded troops will now desert with low morale. So if you have low morale in the party and you have a lot of wounded troops, they will desert. Next we have our perk changes. We have 31 new engineering perk effects were added. This will actually help the engineering perk tree a ton because the whole engineering skill just did not work for some reason. You can check it out on bannerlordperks.com, and he keeps up to date with all the perks, but as he stated, and I kind of do trust his opinion of it, he does do some good testing. He stated that the engineering skill tree did not work at all, but now it should work with these new perk effects. Some of them might be bugged, like always, that it is what it is, but it's good to see a lot of them were added. Next, the bug passive XP given by perks Raise the Meek and combat tips was reduced from 30 and 15 to between 5 and 1. So obviously this was a bug. They were given too much XP. A lot of AI lords and the player would usually have like all tier 5 troops very early on in the game. That's not how it was meant to be, so now it is fixed and back to normal. Next we have is force villager parties, caravans, and villages to give goods, and attacking caravans and villager parties now awards roguery XP. Also a couple of fixes to various skill trees, all on the screen right now. Next, the child education feature has been implemented. Players can now educate their clan's children through their early life. There are 6 different education stages. These stages will trigger at the age of 2, 5, 8, 11, 14, and 16. Each stage will present different options that improve the child's skills and attributes. Stages are accessible via the right side circle notifications. So how this will work pretty much is what I thought when they did introduce the system. I thought it was all going to be all at once, where once they turn 18, you go through all the selections kind of the same way as the character creation. But they decided to actually break it down, so after every couple of years, as the child grows, you get to pick those, and at the end, you know, through the stages, whatever you picked is what the child will have in terms of skills, which I think is very cool. I'm very excited for it. I'm going to make a separate video showing off all the steps as soon as I get to play the new beta after I make this video. Very excited for it. Next, AI lords now don't upgrade their troops randomly and are more likely to try and reach cavalry troops, especially if they have a lower cavalry to infantry / ranged ratio. So if they're very low on horsemen, they're gonna go for the horseman upgrade instead of the other upgrade. It won't just be like a 50-50 chance like it used to be. Next, XP needed to upgrade troops has been increased. So this kind of goes hand to hand with the bugged passive XP given by Raise the Meeks and combat tips that we just talked about. So Tier 1 to Tier 2 saw a small increase of about 250 to 300 XP needed to upgrade, and Tier 4 and Tier 5 troops have a bigger increase from 1100 to 1500 to pretty much upgrade from Tier 4 to Tier 5. All other tiers were also increased. Pretty much the higher the tier, the bigger the increase, which I think is very good, and it does make sense. Next, there were way too many war and peace declarations, and average war duration was very short. The war durations will be a bit longer now, so you won't see a lot of a lot of different wars happening all the time. It'll just be more, slower flowing when it comes to the war and peace declarations. Next, kingdoms which lost territories were usually requiring high tributes to establish peace or were declaring new wars while already being in one. Weakened kingdoms are now not that aggressive. So if a kingdom is weakened by a lot and also, loses a lot of their settlements, they will kind of be more, tend to be more peaceful and not start as much wars until they build back up, which makes sense. Good change. Next, relations between lords now affects their target selections. If a player has a good relationship with a lord, that lord will be less likely to initiate hostile actions against the player's settlements. It's still possible, it still can happen, but they will be less likely to do it. This mechanic applies to AI heroes as well, not just the player. Very cool. I don't know exactly how it's going to affect gameplay, but if you do have a good relationship with a lot of enemy lords, maybe they will not go for your settlement, but they will attack somebody else's settlement. Let's say you're a vassal of a kingdom. Instead of attacking your castle, they might go attack somebody else's town because they like you more, which is very cool. It gives relations a purpose, and I think it's a good start. Very good change. Next, if his cavalry speed bonus was reduced from 60% to 40%, this will help the Khazaits snowball. We've talked about this plenty of times in a lot of different videos previous to this, but if you are just hearing me now, the speed bonus, cavalry speed bonus used to be 60%. So how this helped Khazaits a lot was because the Khazaits had about 35% of their army being cavalry. Therefore, if you did that 35%, times 60, like it's a lot of math for it, but all in all, Khazaits were a lot faster because of this speed bonus. This reduction of 20% makes them a little bit less fast and a little bit less likely to take over the whole map. So good change. Next, we have is rebel clan heroes are now unable to marry and give birth to children while they are still rebels. So they have to actually get out of that whole phase of being a rebel, turn into an actual clan before they can do stuff that actual clans can do. Makes sense. Next, we have is Grazer Right's default policy of Khazaits was changed from +1 loyalty and +1 militia to plus 0.5 loyalty and minus 0.25 hearth. Again, this does help with the Khazaits snowball. It was a very strong policy. Khazaits got it right away. Therefore, their settlements grew very quickly with the loyalty and militia upgrades. Now, with this change, their loyalty will still grow, but their villages will be hurt by it because the minus 0.25 hearths, which is in villages, and hearths pretty much it's like a counter to see how successful a village is. So if their hearth is very high, they're very successful, and this policy will pretty much hurt that now. So in a way, it will help with the Khazaits. Next, workshop profits are increased back to normal. 1.5.6 had a bug that most of the workshop profits. It has now been fixed, so you should see normal amounts as before. Next we have is notables. We're starting with notables or nobles, whatever you want to call them. We're starting with too much power. Nearly all had 200 plus power, which made them powerful, which is the highest level. This has been balanced now, so 20% are now powerful. They will start. 20% will now start powerful, which is 200 plus, and 60% are now influential, between 100 to 200. And of course, these can drop, but most of the time they didn't drop, so it makes sense. I like the change. Good. Next is AI lords will now raid villages less and do other things in war more. Okay, I think this is a good change. I think if they prioritize getting into armies and actually helping sieges instead of just raiding so much, I think it'll make better for better war combat. So I agree with this. Next we have is the Castellan office. I think I said that wrong, but it is what it is. The project that is available in castles will now give 10, 20, and 30% wage reduction for garrison troops. I think this is a great change. I think garrison troops were a problem, and the wage sometimes overpowered the income and pretty much made castles kind of pointless to actually own. So I think this is a good step in the right direction to make castles a little bit different from towns. Good change. Next we have is gold gained in arena practice now works as intended. So that's good to see. Kind of minor, but I decided to put it in there. Now on to quest changes. There are no new quests added, but some changes to existing quests were made. They're all on the screen right now if you wish to pause. And lastly, we have improvements on conversation spawn points when quick talking to people. From now on, if the conversation character has a workshop and is inside his or her workshop, the player and the conversation character will spawn inside of it when having their quick talk. If the conversation character is in the common area, the player and the conversation character will spawn near the common area. So now you will see dynamic backgrounds when quick talking to people. Cool change. Now onto multiplayer, we have a couple of changes. First, they added a new server region, Western North America. They renamed the current North American region to Eastern North America. So now we have two different servers for North America. Cool to see. Next we have is players can now see the clan leaderboards even when they're not in a clan. This was added before, but it was added in here as well, so maybe it didn't work good the first time, but is now officially added. Next we have is rankings in the player's clan can now be visible next to the player's avatars in the lobby. So whenever you're in the lobby, you can see players' rankings. Now onto both. We have a couple more changes here as well. So the game volume is now lowered when the game's window isn't in focus. So if you actually shift tab out of the game, if there's music playing, it will completely shut off. Only some important notifications in the multiplayer mode are excluded from this change. But mostly, I think this is a great change, especially for me, because obviously I'm in the game. I'm obviously looking stuff up online. I'm obviously doing multiple things or editing or, all that. And I think this is a great change overall to see, because sometimes I'm browsing through something and the what's it called? The background music of the game is just playing way too loud. But now it isn't, and I think it's a great change. Quality of life change, amazing to see. Next, we have CPU memory usage reductions for terrain. Siege performance of the game is increased, and also reduced memory usage during scene loading. There's been a lot of optimization in this patch, and I do appreciate it. I think it will improve the game drastically, and it's good to see. Next, we have is increased couch lance damage. So there's always changes to the couch lance. There's just always a problem with it, but they increased the damage. It's pretty much more dependent on the weight of the weapon now rather than your mount speed. Before it was dependent on your mount speed, then they changed that. Now it's dependent on the weight of the weapon. I'm guessing the heavier, the more damage. So there you go. Also, they slightly decreased fall damage. So your fall damage will not be as drastic as it was before, but I'm pretty sure falling off something very steep will still cause you to die. So be careful. Next, the AI would in certain cases ignore the player if the player had a ranged weapon in their hands, despite the player being closer than other enemy units. This has now been fixed. So now the AI, if they are close to you, you can't really trick them anymore with, pulling out a bow or anything like that. They will still attack you. Next, for all the modders out there, This is pretty much the last thing I'm going to talk about. There are quite a few changes. All can be seen on the screen right now. Things that stick out to me personally is there's a new label system and a spline row generation tool that were added, and also plenty of fixes. You can pause the video right now if you want to go check it out. But alrighty, that is all the changes. Lastly, I'm going to end this video in the same way I end most of my update videos. I want to thank the developers for staying active and bringing good changes. This came out really fast. It's really good to see. Overall, I think good patch. We'll see how the optimization changes are going to change the gameplay. That's what I'm most excited for, the education system. Videos coming very soon. Also, I'm doing a new playthrough that I'm starting for 1.5.7. I'm going to start uploading today those videos. I'm going to do that right after this video is out. So make sure to stick around and check those videos out as well. I appreciate all the support. You guys have been going crazy. Channel's growing. I feel great about it, and hopefully I'm providing you guys good content in return for your support. So there it is. Also, I have a video on how you can revert your game to any other patch released. So if you are having problems with the current patch or want to get to the current patch, check out the video below. Very simple tutorial. Also, I did start a Patreon. It's nothing crazy. Basic support. I know there's bad stuff going on in the world right now, so I don't expect anything, but I do appreciate anyone who does check that out. But hopefully this video is informative, and like always, stay safe.